Hello,
Thank
sir.
you so much for doing this.
It's a pleasure. Good to be here.
Awesome. Firstly, to introduce Mahavir sir. Recently, he has joined and he has come to this community. He's the co-founder and the chairperson of Rajasthan Angel Innovators Network. He is on the panel of Horses Table. It's a funding game show which it allows entrepreneurs across India to pitch their ideas and efforts to the panel of investors, and that's where the value is being added to the ecosystem at large. Sir, I चाहूंगा कि आप अपने बारे में थोड़ा सा a few more things that you're doing, you can tell us, and then we can start shooting questions to you.
Yeah, so I've been angel investing for about 8-9 years. I have been pretty active in TIE. I've been on the global board for 8 years. I've been the global chair. I am leading the TIE India Angel initiative where we have 400 some investors, and I continue to look at deal flows. I have attended a few hundred startup events. I get 4 to 5 pitches a day. I'm looking at various sectors. We invest at early stage companies. I have 30 some investments so far, out of which 20 some were the first checks, that I was the first check that had to be written. And, I continue to do that on a daily basis. So it's always a pleasure to be part of the startup ecosystem and to see India grow through this technology-enabled deep tech startup ecosystem, which I think India has a very bright future. So always a pleasure and glad to be here. Happy to help and answer and try and explain as much as I can in very simple language so that everyone can understand and follow. And happy to answer on any follow-on questions that might come out, because I might use some technical jargon that we use. And so please be naive and innocent and ask me what does that mean, and I'll be happy to explain further. So it's absolutely okay.
That's so kind of you. So all right, so let's quickly get started, and let me bring the first question to you, which is actually one of the most common concerns and questions from the entrepreneurs, that what is the right time to start looking at raising funds and how to approach it.
So it's a very, very difficult question. And I think that is what prompted me to say that it's better if I explain that to you. And I can answer that in 10 different ways. And I'll try and say that very, very slowly and quickly so that people follow. Obviously, when you need money, you need to raise money. So simply put, when your idea or when your startup needs to grow and needs to scale up, you need money, and that's when you need to raise money. But having said that, it's not that easy, because I, as an investor, don't think that is the right time to do it. Because if you need money, then you should go to a bank, you should go to your friends and family, you should try and see why are you not making money internally, accruing money. So it's a very, very complicated science. While when you and the world that we live in, there's an echo. Two of you are in the same room. Mute, please. Yeah. So when you need money, no one gives you money. When you don't need money, all credit cards and all banks are after you. Paise le lo, paise le lo. So it's a very, very challenging situation. So I'll give you a very simple example. When startups come and pitch to us, or when people who need money come and pitch to you for their business, they will say, I am doing the best thing, my product is the best, my quality is the best, I am the best technical or best designer or best person to, our team is the best, our pricing is very good, our service is very good. No startup has come to raise money who has not told me that they are the best in what they are doing. When they make a competition ka graph, सबसे top right corner पे उनका logo होता है, बाकी सबके सब इधर-उधर होते हैं. I said, very good. Now that you can raise money and you are the best, and why don't you increase the price a little bit and don't raise money, make little more profit, because you are the best. You don't need money. You can scale up because सब आपके पास लाइन लगा के आएंगे, क्योंकि एक ने खरीदा तो दूसरे को रेफर किया, दूसरे ने किया, तीसरे को किया, रिपीट कस्टमर भी आपके पास सबसे ज्यादा आ रहे हैं, आपका कैक भी कम है, आपका लाइफ टाइम वैल्यू भी ज्यादा है. तो ऑल दीज थिंग्स, देन दे से नहीं सर, हमको मार्केटिंग टीम बढ़ानी है, अभी हम सिर्फ जयपुर में हैं, हमको दिल्ली जाना है, वहां टीम चाहिए, वहां घर वो चाहिए, हमको सोशल मीडिया मार्केटिंग करनी है. अरे भाई, जब कोई product अच्छा है, when Uber came to India, you and I were not looking at hoardings or newspaper ads. You and I were referring to each other and getting 100 rupees off, and Uber went like viral. Now that is a startup that did not need money. They were burning because they were paying a fixed fee to the drivers at that time. कि हम 3,000 रुपए महीने के आपको देंगे चाहे गाड़ी आए नहीं आए. That model is what a startup should be. That is the right model where Uber had no competition. Now Uber gives full page Times of India ads. They have hoardings across everywhere. They're competing with Ola. They're struggling. They're not giving a minimum wages to the drivers. The drivers are canceling their rides. It is no longer a startup. It is a spiral burn that they will continue to burn to survive. So what I'm trying to say is that if you are so good, you don't need money. But when you have succeeded in your area, in your geography, in your domain, let's say in Jaipur, you have succeeded with whatever you are doing. Now you want to go to Delhi. Now you want to scale up. You are cash flow positive and you're the best in Jaipur or Rajasthan or Maharashtra. That's when you need money. Scaling up beyond, after you've proven your model, after you've proven your idea, after it's profitable, if it's sustainable, that 10 people will sell 1 crore of products. I will make 10 lakhs. My customers repeat इतना है, इतने खुश हैं, इतना lifetime value है, average ticket, सारे statistics आपके पास हैं. Now you know कि बॉम्बे का ये खर्चा है, दिल्ली का ये खर्चा होगा, बैंगलोर का ये खर्चा होगा, इंदौर का ये होगा, और Assam का ये होगा. When you have all those numbers, that's when you should raise money. And that's what the money is needed for. Otherwise, it is not needed as a money. So you have to understand that your fundraising is required once you've proved the product, once you've proved the service, once you know your market, once you know how to spend, how much will you spend, how much will you gain, the projections will be real, will sound realistic to me as an investor. That is when you need to raise money. Uske pehle, you have to prove it to yourself. हाँ, आपका कोई patent है, आपका कोई IP है, आपने कोई नई चीज का इजाद किया है, then you, at a prototype, you need money because now you have something that's IP. That's something that someone else will not have. Those products are different. Now, so that is something when you have done something in a certain area. Now, if you're doing something that is better, that is already being done by others, but you think you can do it better, or you can do it for less money, or your quality will be better, you have to now prove that for at least a year or 2 years. That this is what I was trying to say, this is what I'm doing, and this is how I will do it. That's when you raise money. See, unless you are able to answer to yourself, would you invest in yourselves? Would you take money and put your house on loan and take 15% interest पे 1 करोड़ रुपए और उस बिजनेस में आप लगाओगे, अपने बच्चों का करियर, बच्चों का फ्यूचर दाव पे लगाओगे, आप वो कहोगे हाँ मैं लगाने को तैयार हूं. That's when you need to raise money, not before that. See, our money is actually your money, and if you are not convinced and if you're not ready to put in 1 crore and put your future of your children or your family on the fence, it is not the right time to raise money. You know, raising money has become a fad these days, and the timing is most critical, and it's different for every business. It's different for e-commerce, it's different for logistics, it's different for EV, it's different for sector wise. और उसी सेक्टर में भी अब एडटेक इतना बड़ा सेक्टर है, फीस कलेक्शन का अलग मॉडल है, बस की सर्विस का अलग मॉडल है, पढ़ाने के तरीके का अलग मॉडल है, एग्जामिनेशन का अलग, एडटेक में भी 500 सेक्टर है. हर जगह हर चीज का कोई एक, देयर इज नॉट वन थंब वन से कि इस टाइम पैसे लेने चाहिए. जब जरूरत है तब लेने हैं, बट उस जरूरत के टाइम क्या आप अपने पैसे लगाओगे? क्या आपको जो पैसे चाहिए वो अगर आप 10 रुपए लगाओगे तो 100 रुपए का माल बेचोगे? वुड यू बी एबल टू ग्रो एटलीस्ट 5 times of what you are currently with that money? Someone came to me and said, sir, I need 1 million. I mean, I need 8 crores. मैंने कहा आफ्टर 8 करोड़ अभी तेरे 3 करोड़ का टर्नओवर है, कितना टर्नओवर है? सर मेरा 8 करोड़ का टर्न. मैंने कहा तू 8 करोड़ लेके मैं खुद का ही माल ही खरीद लूंगा ना, तो मेरा 11 करोड़ वैसे ही हो जाएगा. Why would I give you 8 crores to reach 8 crores? So that is something that, you know, is happening with Byju's and the world, where they spend 100, 200 crores to get top line of 100 crores. It defies logic. It will never work. And it will never work for small businesses or people who are starting up. So now those models are changed. It's not that easy. Early mover advantage is just a term which has no meaning at all, because it doesn't matter who comes later. Whoever executes better is the winner. It doesn't matter who comes first, who comes last. I mean, And it's as simply as I could explain. It is not as easy. It's not complicated. And of course, आपको लगता है आज पैसे चाहिए, you bounce it off a startup, of an investor, local investor ho, national investor ho. Throw that. If they feel nahi, you come back to me after 3 months, you come back to me after 6 months, or if they ask you questions where they're not convinced with your model or your that means that is not the right time to model. I mean, and along with this, I'd like to add कि पैसा कितना raise करना और equity कितनी dilute करनी. That's the next question that happens. मान लो you are investable and you need 1 crore and आप कह रहे हो मेरा valuation 10 crore because किसी ज्ञानी ने बोल दिया पहले राउंड में 10% से ऊपर की इक्विटी डाइल्यूट नहीं करनी चाहिए. तो जितना पैसा चाहिए उसको आपने 10 मल्टीप्लाई कर दिया 10 से और वो वैल्यूएशन मान ली. वो भी गलत है. आपको पैसा कितना चाहिए दैट इज डिटरमिन्ड बाय द कैश फ्लो. कितने का माल बनेगा, कितने का स्टॉक रखना है, कितना मेरे को उधार देना है, क्या उसका पैसा कब आएगा और मेरे को इतना पैसा नेट प्रॉफिट बचेगा. वो कैश फ्लो बनेगा एक्सपेंसेस का और रेवेन्यू का. और हर महीने मुझे 2 लाख 10 लाख जब भी जो मैक्सिमम चाहिए वो एक अलग कैलकुलेशन है. उसका वैल्यूएशन से कोई लेना देना नहीं है. देन वैल्यूएशन इज बेस्ड अपॉन द सेक्टर दैट यू आर इन, द स्टेज दैट यू आर इन, द टीम दैट यू आर, the growth projections that you can possibly have, how big is the market for that product. वो एक अलग सब्जेक्ट मैटर है. तो अगर आपका मान लो 1 करोड़ का टर्नओवर है तो वो 7x ये जो फॉर्मूलाज दुनिया बताती है वो कोई फॉर्मूला काम नहीं करता है. मार्केट डिटरमिन करती है कि क्या अगर आपका वैल्यूएशन जो एक अलग तरीके से सेक्टर वाइज आपकी टीम के कारण आपके एक्सपीरियंस के कारण whatever that valuation is, if the ask and the valuation is where you are diluting 8 to 12%, you're possibly in the right space at the right time and you need to raise that money at that valuation. Because diluting more than 10 to 12% at the first stage is not advisable because follow-on round nahi hoga, aapka interest khatam ho jayega, investor will try and dominate. It is not important at all. So I think valuation is a separate subject matter. Cash flow and need for money is a different subject matter. If both of them are 10% or 8% dilution, that's when you are at the right spot at the right, and you are thinking of the right valuation and your ask is right and you will grow 5x, 3x, 8x, whatever the number is from that point of view. And that is what is most important.
Awesome. I think what I love about how you are, approaching these questions is it's in a very simple way and easy to understand. Thanks for that. The next question that I was going to ask you about is how much money and the valuation bit, but then I think you already touched upon it. You also, the experience is so intuitive. I think what I would go on next is from an entrepreneur's perspective, as you said, if the entrepreneur is investable and they do their rounds of talking to people, investors more so. So where should they head to raise funds for the first time if it's the first
See, I think organizations and networks like you, some referral, emails, organizations like TIE, many networks, Indian Angel Network, Mumbai Angel, Venture Catalyst, Let's Venture. There are multiple people. LinkedIn. Reaching out is always a good idea, and necessarily the first few people, some people respond, some people don't respond. But जैसे कहते हैं ना, जब तक पानी में हाथ नहीं डालोगे तो मालूम नहीं पड़ेगा कितना गर्म है ठंडा है. So you need to try out different people, different methods, go at networking events, reach out over cold emails, try and see if you know someone who knows someone who can help you and mentor you and guide you. Non-profits are present. There are quite a few consultants and advisors who charge anywhere from 2 to 5%, who will then reach out to people like us. That's also fine. Those people help you improve your pitching. They help you improve your business plan and the deck. Those people, paying them a success fee. I strongly recommend not to pay upfront fees and not to have exclusive signups with these people, because sometimes they have exclusive signups. ना किसी और को बोल सकते हो, ना वो raise कर पाते हैं, and you are in a dilemma. Don't pay 1 lakh देना पड़ेगा. I don't agree with that. That's absolutely not right, because unless if you get invested, then paying 2, 3, 4% is makes sense. And why the range is 2 to 5% is the effort to connect and to convince the investor is the same. आपका टिकट साइज अगर छोटा है तो उसका परसेंटेज ज्यादा होता है. आपको अगर 50 crore रेस करना है तो वो 2% में भी. So it just that variation, and of course the ability and the brand name of that person who's going to take 2 to 5% or not. So all that is a variable, but that after you are able to raise money, after you get the money, if you have to pay, it is worth it.
Okay. While the conversation was happening in the group, one question was also put that how do we look at raising capitals, debt or equity? How do you decide that?
So very good question. So I think debt is only advisable if you have a recurring revenue, and you have servicing of the monthly debt fees is lower than the profit that you are making this particular month, the month that you take the debt. Gradually, assuming that debt will increase your revenues and increase your profits because your turnover with the same effort will increase and your cash flow will improve, you will be able to service the debt easier. And debt you will not get if you don't have the ability to service that over the next 2 to 3 years. The flip side of the debt is, एक तो बैंक से डेट लेते हैं हम, जो टर्म लोन है या सीसी लिमिट है या लोन अगेंस्ट प्रॉपर्टी या लोन अगेंस्ट व्हाटएवर है, सी वो तो उसमें कोई फ्लिप साइड नहीं है, उसका जो भी 7-8% से लेके 11-12% तक का जो रेट है वो यू नो इट्स फिक्स्ड. बट व्हेन यू गो टू अ डेट फंड, now those debt funds are, in addition to charging 15, 16, 17% of interest rate, they have a top side also. So if you succeed and if you get a follow-on round because of them, they have a carry also. So you end up paying at least 25-30% to those debt companies. So if you are very sure of not requiring more money after the money that you have, and if you are able to pay the debt is a better way, whether from banks, financial institutions, or debt funds. But if you don't have revenue, if you don't have ability to pay, if your business is very high risk, then it's better to dilute your equity, because servicing debt will come to you and you will have to liquidate your other assets to pay that debt, and it is not advisable. At that point in time, I think diluting an equity is a better option and not the debt part of it.
Correct. So I think valuation and calculating how do you approach valuation once you have made an amount of revenue is something that you touched upon. I would like to go on to the section where we have received the questions while the registration, and we would like to take these questions up one by one. So one member from the community asked that is it better to raise funds in India or abroad? What are your thoughts on it?
It depends on what you're doing. If your market is India, if your product and team sits in India, it's advisable to raise money in India. But sometimes if you are beyond a size of the company and you need large sums of money and you need a higher valuation, Indians, घर की मुर्गी दाल बराबर होती है. Indians normally undervalue their own startups, and we do that. And I don't disagree with that, because we know the nuances and the risks of India. America is a far developed country, and so is Europe. So they end up valuing a little higher than what we would have valued. They're learning though. They want to co-invest. They don't simply blindly invest. But if you have access to non-Indian funds, it's easier. Odds of you getting a better valuation are better. Risks and more than where the money is coming from, whether it's coming from India or outside, it's who the money is. The investor an intelligent investor? Is the investor a strategic investor? Is the investor going to bring on value? Is the investor, when you go and pitch for the follow-on rounds, like if first investor was Mr. XYZ or Mrs. XYZ, is that person someone who will help you grow the company, would be there when you need him or her, would be there to help you on follow-on rounds, would also partner and co-invest in the follow-on rounds? Because see, क्या होता है ना, कोई पूछता है पहले का investor कौन है? Sir, XYZ है. Are they investing? Yes, sir, they will invest. They will not lead, but they will co-lead, or they will help you. All that brings confidence in you and your startup. So you need to be very, very clear who the investor is. Now, whether it's in India, whether it's the US, whether it's Europe, or whether it's Dubai, it doesn't really matter. It's the core is whether that person's goals, mission of investments, expectance from you and your team is aligned to where you are going. They're not pushing you in a different direction. They're not pulling you in a different direction. They're not assuming that you will do 100x, or they're not thinking that terse kuch nahi hoga. So it's very, very critical that you have the right, how you look for a spouse. Your wavelength has to match. You need to understand, you have to, it's a 3-legged race. you cannot, one person cannot win without the other. And this first investor is the most critical investor, and two people have to run together. If you're not running together, you will never be able to cross the line.
Correct, correct. The next question is, what is the investor's mindset when we look at a brand that at a plan level it is very good, but has a very little traction when a person like this is trying to approach raising capital?
See, yeah. So if the brand is good, if the value is good, if the perceived market is good, and so are the co-founders or the co-founder is, I think traction will follow. But problem क्या होता है कि जब अपने औलाद को सब बहुत प्यार करते हैं, वो सबसे सुंदर होती है, and a co-founder or the founders fall in love with themselves. They love their designs, they love their marketing style, they love their product, they love their idea. They don't go beyond that, and they don't realize to see what the competition is, and they don't realize what the consumer, their end consumer, wants. Sometimes it's not just the best design, it's also price. It's a combination of the two. Sometimes it's also the right place at the right time, the right target. So all these things are very, very critical. And someone who is investing looks at it from outside. While you no one can judge anyone. I mean, everyone is best. I mean, I'm not trying to say that even if you think you are the best and you're not the best, I am no one to decide that. Everyone is very good. It's is that good enough for the buyer? Is that good enough for the buyer after a buyer? Is that person good enough to continue to grow and have traction later? Then I would love to back that good person. If that person is only capable of reaching out to 5 people and not 50 later on, it doesn't make sense how good that person is. I mean, I could be an MF Hussain, but if I'm not good at communicating and selling my art and explaining what my art is, it is as good as an abstract painting, which has no sense. It doesn't make sense to a consumer. You have to have the right timing. I mean, I wish, there are examples of products that came much before time and they were not successful. And a similar thing came after 10 years. I mean, Google is not the first search engine, but this someone comes up with a search engine was not needed. No one cared because we were not online, because 4G was not there or 3G was not there. It is just timing. It is not about how good that product is. It's also when you bring that product, is there a demand for that product? Is there the right price for that product? And सब लोग ये सोचते हैं, मैं पैसा कमा रहा हूँ, खरीदने वाले का पैसा बच रहा है तो माल अच्छा है. नहीं, जिससे आप रॉ मटेरियल खरीद रहे हो वो कमा रहा है नहीं कमा रहा है, जिसको आप सैलरी दे रहे हो वो कमा रहा है नहीं कमा रहा, वो आपको छोड़. So it's not just 2 people in a business. There are at least 5 different people in the business, and this is just B2C. If you are a B2B2C, then you have to make money, your B2B has to make money, the C has to make money or save money. It is a full chain. कोई भी लिंक में अगर पैसा नहीं बच रहा है या नहीं कमा रहा है या सर्विस में मजा नहीं आ रहा है या प्रोडक्ट में मजा नहीं आ रहा है या क्वालिटी खराब है, that business will not work. I mean, and Uber, again, I'll give you an example. The drivers are not happy today. They're paying 30%. So they cancel agar they have to go for 100 rupees pass mein. Kahan jana hai, madam? You're going towards their home, they'll take you. That's where the Uber, so it will never succeed. You will have these situations, and this will continue. And Zomato, restaurants, when Zomato Gold came out, restaurants were losing money. ठीक है, एक बार आ गया, उसके बाद क्या है? So all those things, everyone has to make money. It is win-win-win-win solution. Otherwise, it will not work.
Correct. All right. So one of the questions is, if you have a question, you would want to put it in the chat box. It will be easier for us to take it up. In case if you raised your hand. All right. Sorry. Yeah. So the next question is that how much does the background of the founders matter if they have had a couple of failed businesses or startups in the past, and if they are having a business which is investable, it has a traction. What is the weightage does an investor give to the background story of the person leading it?
See, background is very important. Experience is very important. Failure or success is not important at all. If someone has failed as a startup, I don't take that as a certificate of accomplishment. That so long as that failure has taught you something and you will not do anything again, that's a certificate. Just because you failed in 3 startups does not make me better or make you better. You have to understand that experience is very, very critical. And if you don't have that experience, you will not be as good as someone who's just come out of the college. But sometimes raw knowledge, raw education, fresh out of college or still in college, the energy and the vibrance is so good or so huge that it's unbelievably big or unbelievably important. So it's just what you are doing, what is needed, what is your target audience, does experience count, does your energy count, does your passion count, does your age count? All these are very subjective and they're sector to sector. I would say just because someone is a failed startup does not, to me, it doesn't. So 3-4 things. A failed startup or not a failed startup, to me, it doesn't matter. Male, female, doesn't matter. IIT, IIM or non-IIT, IIM, doesn't matter. See, at the end of the day, these just are icebreakers for you. I am from IIT Mumbai, I am from IIT Madras, whatever they are, it gives me that मैं उसको 1 मिनट और सुनूंगा. जिसे कहते हैं ना कि वो वेंटिलेटर पे होता है स्टार्टअप और उसने एक आईआईटी का लाइन बोल दी तो मैं 1 मिनट उसको और सुन रहा हूँ. लेकिन जहां 1 मिनट के बाद उसने कोई बेकार बात कर दी जो मुझे समझ में नहीं आई, वो आई विल लूज इंटरेस्ट इन इट. आई विल नॉट लिसन टू व्हाट ही और शी इज सेइंग. सो बियॉन्ड अ पॉइंट, that is all that is needed. Similarly, a failed startup, sir, I have failed in, and if you failed in that very sector and you're still pursuing, it tells me something about you. It tells me how perseverant, how confident, how diligent you are, and that experience is relevant. Now, if you lost money in a logistics business and then you were in a retail business and now you're starting a biosciences business, what good is that experience? Other than cash flow management and people management and dealing with stress or dealing with failure and still standing again, you just, that doesn't make. So it just depends on what it is. It's just not a certificate for success.
Right. All right. So one question is that if a business is not a technology-based business, does it qualify for being a startup and raising funds? Or if such businesses want to raise funds, how do they go about it?
You mean the regular businesses, not the
regular non-tech businesses?
See, I'll tell you, it's a very good question in the sense there are brands that are called D2C brands. And Nykaa is one great example. I am mentoring an advisor on a brand which is an offline brand. They're in the pharmaceutical business. They don't have an online presence. They just have 10 medical shops in Jaipur. They want to scale up. Now, अब दवाई की दुकान खोलने में क्या है? 3 महीने का किराया दिया, उसको डिपॉजिट दिया, किराया खोला, डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर डीलर से 5 लाख की दवाई खरीदी, उसको सही जगह पे दुकान खोली, वहां पे प्रिस्क्रिप्शन है, उसको बेचा. It's a regular business. Now they came to me that this is the business. Can we scale up? Now, can you invest? I said, I can't invest. This is not scalable. क्या है? Farm Easy है, ये है, 1mg है, वो तो online delivery है, नहीं चलेगा ये. Then they said, एक बार हमारे warehouse पे आओ. So I went to their warehouse. So their warehouse and their supply chain to these 10 stores was very, very technology savvy. And they said, sir, can a regular business scale up? The question that you asked. I said, if you listen to me for 1 year, I would like to experiment with you to see if I can make you scale up or not. So I'm an advisor on their company. Now, I made them open a store in a small rural part of Jaipur, about 60 kilometers from here. I said, I need 2 months. मुझे बताओ क्या लगाया, कितना आया, ROI क्या आया, कब break even होता है. Now they were in that town. Someone came कि हमको भी दुकान खोलनी है, तो franchisee model में create a franchisee. Now we are at a situation after 4 months where I know कि एक दुकान खोलने के लिए कितने पैसे लगेंगे, कितने महीने में वो रिकवर हो जाएंगे पैसे, फ्रेंचाइज खोलेंगे तो कितने पैसे में फ्रेंचाइजी के पैसे आ जाएंगे. Now I know if I have to open 500 stores in Rajasthan, I don't have to open stores in Jaipur, Udaipur, Jodhpur, Kota, Ajmer. I have to go to smaller towns which are 60-kilometer radius of all the cities, and their model is not to sell Pfizer's and all these companies. Their model is to sell generic drugs where they make 90%. And after giving 20% and in गांव में और इन शहरों में सिर दर्द हो रहा है और जुकाम हो रहा है या वायरल है और डॉक्टर को 10-20% का कमीशन या 10-20% का डिस्काउंट उस आदमी को मिल जाता है एंड pharmacies and 1mgs can never penetrate that there is the model that I'm taking to. We are now ready with just 2 crores, we will open 100 stores across Rajasthan, 50 franchise, 50 this thing. And now it is an investable. And once they are pan Rajasthan and not in any major city, there will be an acquisition model for families in 1mg. So rather than going from Bombay and Bangalore and Hyderabad and going to tier 3, tier 4, you can start from back up also. So it's an experiment. But having said that, I think small businesses, if they tweak their model, if they have a vision to create 100 store, 100 times of what they're doing, if they are not narrowed down by the city or the customers that they have or the consumers that they're dealing with, they are investable. But unko ye 6 mahine ka apne model ko, and it varies from everything from pharmaceutical, it's different, to e-commerce, to dresses and designer clothes, to interior design. It'll be different for different people, but it will have to be tweeted to a certain extent. And we are thinking of trying to create a mentoring, because India's strength lies in the MSME sectors. India's strength lies in the self-employed people who sit at home and are working and making 50,000, 40,000, 100,000 a month, because they're buying and selling to whatever they're doing, and they're creative people and they're designing something, and they can't afford to be in Bombays and Bangalore's of the world. I think there is a model there, and I think, and we've spoken about this earlier, where you discussed the MSME model. I think there has to be something that can be created where mentoring and handholding can happen and things can scale up. So I personally feel not investable today, but I think that's something that we need to work on, and it should be workable if the person is willing to tweak their model a little bit and go and try and scale up with whatever they're. I don't know if I've answered that question in a yes or a no.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
It is doable, but you need a very, very intelligent and a savvy and a market understanding person to be doing that.
Correct. It's not actually about technology, it's about the scalability. Now, technology could be an enabler, could not be an enabler, but eventually the scalability is what at the model level we are looking.
Yeah.
Correct. All right. So a couple of more questions, sir. So how do you go about evaluating a business and negotiating? What are the negotiating points to control the percentage stake when you are in that round of raising funds?
See, nothing can beat logic and argument. If you have, I mean, कोई मुझे बोलता है ना, आता है कोई मेरे पास एडटेक में, सर मेरा एडटेक है, मेरा वैल्यूएशन जो है 80 करोड़ का। मैंने क्यों 80 करोड़? सर जितने मेरे पास स्टूडेंट हैं और जितने मेरे पास टीचर है ना, जब बायजू के पास है तो वो भी 80 करोड़ का था। मैं एक छापड़ मारूंगा और नीचे। See, it doesn't work. Your comparison, you know, this is the most stupid thing that I can understand and I see. Sir, आप देख लो ना, मेरे भी इतने ही हैं, उनके भी इतने ही हैं। You like the jhabada part, na? That is naturally me. So what I'm trying to say is, if it is logical, and it is, as I said again, valuation has no formula. 7x, 10x, ye kaun sa method, ye sab chartered account, and pardon me if there's a chartered accountant in the group here. There is all jargons that are created. वो term loan और bank का loan लेना है ना, तब वो debt equity और वो formula और वो Excel sheet बननी चाहिए. Startup ecosystem में जिस दिन जो आपको समझ में आया ये राइट इन्वेस्टर है, ये वैल्यूएशन दे रहा है, मुझे इतने पैसे चाहिए, ज्यादा इक्विटी डाइल्यूट नहीं हो रही, उसका वही वैल्यूएशन है, वरना कोई वैल्यूएशन नहीं है। मैं भी भगवान नहीं हूं, मैंने किसी को, मेरे एक स्टार्टअप का है, वी आर ट्राइंग टू रेज मनी, यू नो, आई इन्वेस्टेड एट 7 crores, लास्ट राउंड वाज एट 100 crores, नाउ आई वांट टू रेज मनी फॉर द स्टार्टअप एट 200 crores. आई एम नॉट गेटिंग पीपल टू इन्वेस्ट एट 200. कोई 150 करोड़ का ऑफर दे रहा है, कोई, मुझे फर्क नहीं पड़ता, मेरा तो वैसे भी 7 से 150 हो रहा है. But to my mind, it defies. So no one is God in this thing. We are all subjective. We're all telling our estimates based upon the revenues, based upon the profit, based upon the scale, based upon what the competition is. It's all very, very subjective. But the right valuation is what you think is the right valuation, what they think is the right valuation, and the timing has to be right.
All right. A similar person has asked about, in fact, she has put it in the chat box also, the funding from the Startup India initiative, and is it, you know, good to look at?
grants from government of India, grants from state governments are a great way to start. कोई 10 लाख देता है, कोई 20 लाख देता है, कोई 30 लाख देता है. And Startup India policy, state startup policies, incubators and accelerators who invest money without taking equity, they're a great beginning to test the model. Will it work? Is it profitable? Without diluting your equity, even if you have to dilute 1-2% at a convertible note, it is not a bad idea. It is something that you should do to begin with before you reach out. And it also is a validation of the fact to us when it comes कि हाँ ठीक है 10-20 लाख रुपए लेके उसको खर्च किया है, कहाँ किया है. It tells us about your management skills and your abilities. So it's always good to do that, and it's a good way to try and do that.
Okay, Niharika in the chat box, she's asking that early stage you might go to people from your friends or family to raise funds. Does it matter who is coming in at an early stage and you're raising funds from there?
No questions asked when you raise money from friends and family. It's absolutely fine. I think the only thing that you should learn at times is that friends and family, because they don't understand the valuation, I think you should not do a straight equity with them. You should do a convertible note with them. What a convertible note means is that आज मुझे mom, dad, husband, wife, brother, sister 50 लाख रुपए दे दो. अब मेरी तरफ से वैल्यूएशन 5 करोड़ है या 10 करोड़ है, मैं आपको 10% इक्विटी नहीं दे रही हूँ या दे रहा हूँ, आपको मैं अगले राउंड पे 20% डिस्काउंट पे इक्विटी कन्वर्ट करूंगा. तो ना आपकी वैल्यूएशन ना मेरी वैल्यूएशन, just because we are conflicted, we are father and son, father and daughter and father, whatever the relationship. So you can't be fair to them and be unfair to the business. You can't be fair to the business and be unfair to them because they're your parents or husband, wife, or brother, sister. So it is very fair that you leave it to a third party who will invest at a later stage and you give them a discount of 20-25%, whatever you feel. That way, you are not jeopardizing your equity. You're not jeopardizing the company. You're not taking advantage of the relationship that you have with that person. And secondly, a third person is validating what you are doing. And it is the best thing to do at that point of time. Because अगर उन्होंने 50 लाख लगाए और उन्होंने 50% भी ले ली equity और वो next follow on round नहीं हुआ, तो 50 लाख भी डूब जाएंगे. ठीक है. और नेक्स्ट फॉलो राउंड हुआ और उनके पास 50% है, मैं इन्वेस्ट नहीं करूंगा. काम करने वाली के पास या वाले के पास 50% है और जो बैठा हुआ है उसके पास, आई विल नॉट इन्वेस्ट. आई विल से यू टेकन टू मच इक्विटी फॉर टू लेस मनी, you have to sell me a secondary. There will be too many complications. It will not work. So it's advisable to do a convertible note with friends and family to be fair to yourself and to them.
Correct. I think the last question that there are two folks in the registration sheet that asked us about this, about the term sheet, and how do you go about making one? What all things does it contain, or maybe
so term sheet templates are available. They're available online. Everyone has their own set of term sheet, but term sheet basically is a 1-page or 2-pager which tells you how much money, when is the money being invested, at what valuation, when it will be converted, and also gives preconditions. For example, you can't draw salary, or your salary will be capped at that. You can't take money out. You will not hire critical or key people. So it also puts certain caveats on you as a founder and safeguards my investment. So term sheet is very broad outline. A term sheet templates are available, and the term sheet is followed by an SHA, a shareholders agreement, which has more detailed stuff, which like the ROFR, tag along, drag along. All these are very, very critical signs. I mean, ROFR means right of first refusal, which means that if someone is investing at a follow-on round at a certain valuation, I have the first right of refusal to refuse if I want to take all the shares first or not. Tag along, drag along. If you are selling your equity, I have the right to sell my equity before you sell your equity, and so on and so forth. So all these are very, very standard clauses, but they come part of the SHA, and that's a more detailed document. I strongly advise that you have a good legal firm, and they will charge anywhere from 50,000 to 100,000 rupees once the investment comes through. Make them go through the SHA and the term sheet before you sign it.
All right, sir, if you may allow for a bonus question before we wrap up.
Sure.
This is something as a service we offer. Crafting investor pitch deck for businesses, and this is something that I would want you to highlight when an investable business or not. When someone is pitching, uh, what is your mindset? How should someone ideally pitch a business to you when you're giving that person about 3 or 5 minutes? It's a very initial first interaction.
Yeah, I sometimes I sometimes feel people take too long to explain what they're doing, and I don't think it's such a complicated science. I As soon as you can reach to the core is very, very important. And as I said, we have very short attention spans. If in the first minute you don't tell me what you're doing, you will lose me very soon. Now, if your experience is critical, if the product is critical, if the traction that you have reached is critical, if the way you will be conducting or selling your product or service is critical, that needs to come out first. And then you need to justify that मैंने एक महीने में ही 3 करोड़ का माल बेच लिया. You know, अब माल आपने आलू बेचा या डायमंड बेचा, not important. What holds my attention is एक महीने में पहले महीने में 3 करोड़ का माल बेच दिया, correct? या आपने बोला I have a 20-year experience with, let's say, EY, and I have been auditing all my life, and now I have come up with a startup that you don't need to audit, and audit happens automatically. Now that holds my attention. So all that, the first 1 minute is where I should know that you have something in you that needs more conversation, and I need to understand your story more. If you start off with the problem, the solution, the market size, वो जो standard template है, हाँ, प्रॉब्लम अगर इतनी बड़ी है कि आदमी रोज मर रहे हैं कोविड में और आपके पास कोविड का प्रॉब्लम पहले तब आती है. अगर कोविड वाली प्रॉब्लम नहीं है और जो दुनिया जहान की प्रॉब्लम है, जो आलू कहीं से आ रहा है और आप बेटर दे रहे हो या आप घर पे दे रहे हो या आप बना बनाया दे रहे हो या आप काट के दे रहे हो, it is not a problem to be telling me first. What you need to tell me is that I have done this and I'm doing this. So my point, and if the team is stellar, if you have 5 years of experience, 10 years of experience, you went to MIT and you went to IIT and you've done IIM, this is the team, and we are deep tech. I'm computer science. She's an MBA. He's that. And this is a designer. And then, of course, the product that they will create, even if it's not working, they will create something because they have the right mix of people: the designer, the business head, the technology person. Then the team needs to come. So it's so in a simple format. If I will tell you and end the call on a funny note, the pitch should start like a James Bond film. It's how 1 minute pehle title aane ke pehle James Bond bum. It should go on like a Yash Raj or a Karan Johar film, and it should end like a Rajshri film at a happy note. If it does not have that flow, then you have lost it and your pitch is absolutely crap.
That is that is indeed funny. Thank you so much, Mr. Mahavir, for doing this for the community. I'm sure there'll be a lot of follow-on questions. So I think let's have these questions in the group and allow Mahavir sir to respond to them as and when he is
मेरे को
free.
type करने का time. I'm really sorry. I'm too involved in other things and doing too many things simultaneously. So I can't. I would rather इकट्ठे हो जाए question तो एक आधे घंटे का call कर लेंगे. बाकी I can't answer to question. If it's a one-liner, I would be happy to answer.
Yeah, awesome. So we would definitely try to bridge that thing. If there are questions that are coming to us, follow-on questions, जो काफी सारे हैं, we'll compile it and we'll do it in a way that through an audio note or maybe a call, whatever suits. But as a first session with you, I think you have shared your thoughts on a lot of areas which are very common to a lot of people, and this has definitely added immense value to the community. As a community, sir, what we're trying to do is we're trying to create a space which is supportive and which is encouraging for the entrepreneurs, that makes their lives a little easier. Now, there are 10 things we do. Instead of going deeper into that, just to maintain the essence, we would look forward to more sessions from you, which enables us to knowledge share and get.
I'm happy to share, लेकिन मेरे से सवाल वही पूछेगा जिसने ये वीडियो इसका रिकॉर्डिंग देखने के बाद सवाल पूछेगा. अगर कोई नया सवाल पूछेगा तो then again I will not answer that because repeating is not required. So जो पहले ये वीडियो देख के बोले हाँ देख लिया अब सवाल पूछना, then I'm okay to answer.
Yes, makes sense. Makes sense. So, thank you so much, sir. Do you want to have any closing statements for the group and for the activities that you're seeing since you are a part of it recently as well?
No, happy to engage wherever I can and support in whatever way I can. I'm happy to be here. I think you guys are doing a great job. And when I see responses coming from 10 different people for someone who's doing something, it's always great, because if we don't help each other as a community, then there's no difference between us and many other animals. So I think absolutely a great effort by both of you. And congratulations, and happy to be here. I'm not dropping off the group after this call, don't worry.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for doing
sir.
this once again.
Thank you, everyone. Good night. Happy
Thank you.
Diwali to everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.